are live on the Believe in Monsters podcast tonight. Another week. Oh my gosh, I feel so like I'm back in the saddle. Got to ride the bicycle go again. Welcome back in. My man Chris and Lucas held it down last week with a great episode with the NWO of Chicago Bears Twitter, and that was a great episode. So if you missed it, check it out on Spotify, Apple Music, or anywhere you get your podcast. We are back for another episode of Chicago Bears off-season talk. Welcome into the Believe in Monsters podcast. My man Chris Krogman and Lucas Berry hanging out with myself, Joe Gaither, and we are going to work our way through some prospects tonight because we are what, guys, like 3 weeks from the draft, 4 weeks from the draft? It is right upon us. It's at the end of this month, correct? January, February,
3 weeks and 2 days.
Oh, it's at the 3 weeks and 2 days, 23 days away. So we'll have a couple more episodes to break down some prospects. Check us out. Follow my man Chris Krogman at Shy Bears 1985 and Lucas at LBerry_40 and myself at Joe Gaither 6 on the Twitter machine and the podcast at BIM_pod. Lucas Berry, great job last week. How's it going, man? Thank you so much for holding it down.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. We'll have to ask you how your scouting assignment went, but I am doing well. Episode last week was very fun, but now it is just the fantastic trio, us three back to give you guys some breakdown of prospects. I'm sure by now everyone is, I guess, sick of hearing all the, banter back and forth about what the Bears will do. We will find out soon enough, but we're going to hit some offensive prospects today, which will be kind of the first time we're doing this as a whole on BIM. We've talked about it before, but this is the first time we're really focusing in on it. So this is going to be a fun episode. Joe, how are you doing, my man? How was your scouting assignment?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. I got out there and saw a lot of prospects. Got throughout the Southeast. Went to a couple of different colleges to see some prospects for the Bears, and we'll see if they end up on our list tonight. But it's great to be back in the saddle. Chris Krogman, father, sir, how are you, man?
I'm all right.
Keeping the food on the table, Mr. Salesman of the Year, right?
Almost. No, dinner was amazing last Tuesday, so that was fun. Top performer dinner. Doing well. We are, whatever Lucas said, away from the draft.
23 days.
23 days away.
Can't come soon enough so we can hear the meltdowns from every single aspect of Bears Twitter. Like I think we have a representative from every position group on the planet, and it's going to be super fun to see that sect flip out when we take like Bijan Robinson at number 9.
No.
So
I think that's the only move that could collectively make us three on this podcast freak out, Chris. Like that is the one move that would make us be like,
and I like Bijan, but at 9, no. Continue, Chris.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Well, I know Chris isn't a fan of him either.
I love Dijon mustard on my sandwiches. Philosophy is always 100% don't draft running backs high. Because here's the thing. You're not going to pay them a second contract most of the time. So you're like automatically giving yourself 5 years, and that's it.
Or you'll be the Giants.
Top 10 pick. Yeah, or you have to overpay a quarterback and an average quarterback, which obviously we're not in that scenario exactly. But you put yourself in a tough position in order to franchise a running back cheap. Anyway, doesn't really matter.
I don't want to say that matter.
Well, we got an action-packed episode, so
why
don't we start with the I guess the kind of ongoing news, which is we went through some of the pre-draft process, we went through pro days, we went through the combine, and now we are in the top 30 visit phase of things. Chris, Joe, I think we have the list here up in front of us. Bears top 30 visits. I mean, they've met with quite a group of people. Some of the big ones are Jalen Carter, Tyree Wilson. They met with Jackson Smith and Jigba, Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones, a few cornerbacks in there, a few tight ends, Darnell Wright, What do you guys make of the list of guys that they have they've kind of brought in for visits? A lot of linemen in there, a lot of O tackles. It seems like basically the whole entire, kind of first round O tackle class has been in Hallis Hall. I mean, do you think the Bears are kind of tipping their hand? Do you think they're just doing extra legwork here? What do you guys think?
Yes,
going off of last year, they didn't bring in they didn't draft any of their top 30 visits, right? So
I don't think so.
Tipping their hand, who knows, man? I mean, you bring in enough tackles, and apparently nobody knows what you're going to do. And I mean, you still have plenty of other options that you can go with at 9. That they brought in, whether it's Carter or Wilson. If either one of those guys are there, they could go there. It would be super. It would be crazy if they took like some tackle that nobody wanted until like the second or third round, and then took him at 9. I mean, I know Darnell Wright is on a meteoric rise throughout draft Twitter, but if they took like a Matt Bergeron at 9, people would just lose their shit, which would be funny. Not funny. I would not like that. No, but anyway,
that would be crazy. Well, I did think. Well, Joe, I just wanted to say this. I did think it was interesting today. One of their visits was DeJuan Jones, the massive offensive tackle from Ohio State. And, for all the talk of scheme fit, DeJuan Jones, he moves well for a big man, but he is a gigantic mountain of a man who ultimately, isn't the fleetest of foot, for this scheme. So I think that was an interesting one. And I was just going to ask, I mean, do you really waste your time bringing someone in unless you have some potential intention of drafting them, or is that just due diligence? What do you think, Joe?
Well, I think you bring them in because you absolutely have some interest in them as a prospect and them as a player. Something stands out to you on tape, or whether or it's a need. I mean, you see all these offensive linemen. And yeah, DeJuan Jones may not be the greatest scheme fit, but here's the other deal about it. You may not be drafting these guys. Like Chris just said, we didn't take any of the top 30 visits last year, but you're getting to know prospects. And then when these guys are turned over for their next contract, you're creating relationships in the front offices and with these prospects. And not everybody's still going to be around, obviously, but I think it's just kind of doing your best to get to know this class. I think the Bears are kind of tipping their hand that they're going offensive line, but how sure are you guys that we're picking at 9? I kind of think, if we're all playing gun to our head, what are we doing at 9? And it's my turn to play. I think that the Bears are going to seek a trade down.
So the rumor came out today that they talked to the Steelers about their pick, or the Steelers talked to them about their pick, whichever way you want to put it. Will they look for a trade down? It really depends. My favorite, thing, and Gus talked about this last week, is, oh yeah, Darnell Wright is ranked 29th on all the draft boards. Just trade down and get him. And you can't just, if you like a guy, take him at 9. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. This isn't Madden. This isn't PFN mock draft or PFF mock draft or whichever mock draft you're using.
Somebody's gonna like the dude at 13 or whatever,
right? Or the Steelers trade up and take him, and you're just like, oh shit. That would be.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. You got to have like a backup plan if you're moving back. I mean, you got to have quite a few guys you like and really just think, these guys are maybe an entire tier behind where you're picking currently or whatever. This draft is interesting. Right. Looking at the board, I think that from 9 into the early teens, like that 9 to 15 range, we could see quite a few tackles fly off the board. I mean, you got the Bears picking at 9. You got the Patriots in there. You got the Jets. You got the Texans. You got plenty of teams in that range there that, might be interested in protecting a young quarterback or whatever. So it will be interesting to see how the Bears play this. Chris, you mentioned the meteoric rise of Darnell Wright, and kudos to Bears Twitter. Actually, I mean, Michael Gus has been on the Darnell Wright train for months now. That's been his guy. And honestly, I think, he does have really good tape. He shut down Joe's boy, Will Anderson, completely shut him out of the game when they played back. He basically shut out every major pass rusher in the SEC. I think the biggest knock on him is that, back to the old right tackle, left tackle debate. He's probably
what does Gus see him as?
I mean, he's a right tackle. He's a traditional right tackle, and it is what it is. And I think that's why he's maybe not as high on people's boards as Paris Johnson or whatever, even though I think he's probably a better pass protector than some of these guys. But
I think what I saw Gus
you better watch out, Luke, by calling him a right tackle. He's going to be up in your mentions calling you dirty words, dirty homophobic words. So, watch out now. That Darnell, if you're listening to the podcast, that's at @lberry_40. Says you're a right tackle.
Yeah, drop him the soundbite.
Dick eater.
What were you gonna say, Chris? Before that,
I'm sorry.
I have no idea.
Well, I was gonna say the other guy that's shooting up the Bears draft board, or supposedly, is Jalen Carter. Supposedly, Vegas has the Bears as the favorite to land Carter at plus 250. A huge shift in odds. He's met with the Bears several times already. It really seems like Ryan Poles is doing his legwork here. And I think I said this before, but when that whole story kind of came out at the combine, part of me in the back of my head was like, did Ryan Poles just leak this right now to kind of cause this and whatever? I mean, it was going to come out anyway, but that thought was in my mind. And then here we are today, and there's actually a potential chance, looking at mock drafts and seeing how the board may fall, that Carter might actually be there for the Bears at 9. What do you guys think about? What is your appetite for that type of risk, if you even call it that, if he's there?
Chris, please go first. Go first.
I'm running in the card to the podium. That's no brainer for me. I'm turning that card in at 9:59 on the clock.
I think the risk reward is there when you have already traded down from number 1. I mean, if you're talking about taking him at 1 or 3 or 4, the risk is much higher. You're talking about dropping down to 9. You've already added a bunch of capital, and along with DJ Moore, the only real downside falls back on positional need, but you're not going to pass up like Hall of Fame talent just because you have a need. You're not going to just say, "Oh, hi, Aaron Donald. It's awesome." But no, we're going to go take, I can't even think of old boy's name. I was going to, Andrew Whitworth. Let's take Andrew Whitworth instead. That sounds like a good plan. That ain't going to happen. Be interesting if he makes. I don't think he makes it that far. That's my take right now, is he doesn't get past Seattle.
Well, okay. You said Hall of Fame talent, and do you see it on tape? You sometimes see it on tape. You see it on tape sometimes. I wonder what you're getting. I wonder what you're getting as a football player a little bit with Jalen Carter. Now, the talent, yes, is there. And you said positional need. I think positional need at defensive tackle, that interior defensive lineman, is as high a team need as protecting Justin Fields, as getting a solid offensive lineman, a starting caliber offensive lineman with that first pick, which I think all of us are in agreement that that's probably where this first pick needs to land, is somewhere on the offensive or defensive front. I think you make a great point, Chris, about him, the risk factor dropping back from 1 to 9 versus being at 1 or 4. I worry about it getting the guy. I mean, this is a guy that says, "Oh, I'm not taking a visit outside my top 10, outside the top 10." And look, you can pull the Deion Sanders. "Oh, I'm not taking your draft test, New York Giants, because you're picking at 8 and I'm going to be gone." Okay, you can pull that, but you better play like it. And you got to say, "Oh, I'm not taking any visits outside the top 10 because I'm going to be gone." And I just worry what that says, because if you're a prospect, especially right now, what the hell do you have to do? What the hell do you have to do other than fly to the 30 teams? And if anybody wants to talk to you, set up the visits. You got nothing to do but go see NFL facilities and meet people that might give you a job, whether they draft you or in 4 years or 5 years they give you a major contract, or in 2 years they trade for your ass. I don't see any downside to that, but the positional need is huge, in my opinion, Chris. I'm tired of getting our ass run up. I'm tired of having ISO right up. I'm tired of having just like pistol right up your ass and not giving your linebackers any chance. Not because you have to give the linebackers a chance, whether you're eating up blocks or whether you're getting penetration yourself. The defensive front has sucked ass really since the final year of Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack. Really, I mean, those two guys that were awesome, but their final year together was kind of subpar-ish, in my opinion. And then from there, the defensive line has just been, we'll get a sack here, a sack, and probably be I think picking him right there is good, but I ask you, if you've got Aaron Donald, you said Aaron Donald, Chris, which wow, that's a big compliment. That's a big compliment. But if I give you Aaron Donald, or if I gave you Quentin Nelson or Zach Martin and Peter Skoronski, what are you feeling there?
Aaron Donald, bro. No brainer.
Well, I got a question for Joe. I mean, now I hear what you're saying, but you got to answer me this. I mean, I do think there is something about the high-profile college D tackle. For the most part, they always seem like troublemakers. I mean, seriously, the best ones. I mean, Ndamukong Suh, huge issue. Same thing, same conversation.
Yeah.
Can you get him to play all the time?
You got another one for me?
Jeffrey Simmons. Yep. It's just all the time with these high-profile D tackles. I mean, it's the same song and dance every year. They always fall in the draft, and then they get picked, and they're amazing. Like, every one of them fell because of issues in college, and then they go to the pros and get real coaching and face real competition, and they're beasts every time. That's why I'm like, it's like cyclical that this happens, that these insane D tackles with quote-unquote character issues or effort issues just go to the NFL and dominate. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I do think it's something to consider. And to Chris's point, you're trading back to 9. You're not taking a guy at 1. I mean, at 9, you're also in that range. I mean, the talent drop off from like Carter and Anderson in this draft to the guys you'll take at 9 is also a pretty big project. So even if you're taking a Broderick Jones or Paris Johnson, you're still banking on a lot of things to go right for them to be really good at the next level. So either way, you're going to be taking a highly, highly talented guy who is going to need some coaching, or you're going to take more of a developmental prospect who is also going to need some coaching. So kind of pick your poison, but to Chris's point, I'm going with the upside. And my comp for him isn't quite Aaron Donald, I think, but I think he is very much Jeffrey Simmons. I think that's pretty close. I mean, Aaron Donald is just so insane. I don't know if I could ever compliment anyone.
There was a pod.
Go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead, Chris. Oh,
now you're muted.
You're killing me, bro. I'm gonna mute your ass next time.
Please.
There was a podcast I was listening to. It was probably Hogan Johns, where somebody on there said that he talked to an NFL scout and said Jalen Carter is the best defensive tackle he's ever scouted.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think it's worth the risk, and I think you take him at 9. I do, but I just want to throw out some apprehensions there about if you're not getting if you're getting 100% of him, sure, hell yeah, sign me up. And like I said, he was probably my pick at 1, so he's got to. Why would it change? Why would it change being at 9? I just kind of think that there's some apprehensions there, and perhaps some reasons to consider other alternatives. But if he goes off the board, or if he's still there at 9, and that's the move they make, it's going to take me about 2.5 minutes to get over any of the character issues, and I'll be very, very excited about what he's going to be able to do for this defense.
Well, Joe, to your point about him,
I don't feel as apprehensive about him with any kind of like character concerns as I did last year about George Pickens.
Well, I was going to say the whole thing about him not taking top 10 visits or outside of top 10 visits is weird. I think he's getting some bad advice from his agent, but that also tells you that, I think someone like the Eagles or the Bears is like, if you're there, you're the pick. We're not trading back. And like I said, around that time is when the Vegas odds shot up to the Bears. I'm not playing connector here, but I'm playing connector here. I mean, I think there's a little bit of smoke to this mess of the Bears and Jalen Carter. I mean, plus 250 is pretty strong odds that they think, he will possibly.
Did you already lay a wager, my man? You put $20 on it?
I'm not doing it at this point. I think maybe not worth it, but something else happened in the Bears' favor today. The Lions traded Jeff Okudah for a 5th-round pick. Ooh. Chris, do you think that locks them into a cornerback in the first round? Or do you think they're still open considering they have 2 picks?
Didn't they just sign a bunch of corners in the offseason or do
they did sign they did sign a few, but they do have an open hole now there.
I don't think it locks them in, but I think it definitely skews the odds a little bit. I think, what would you say, Lucas, the Vegas odds shifted to?
They're minus 250 to take a corner now.
Minus 250 to take a corner? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Isn't it Witherspoon too was the favorite?
Yeah, Witherspoon's now the favorite over Gonzalez, which I think is crazy, but
nah, Illinois guys, they're awesome. You should definitely
6 and 8.
Definitely take that. Definitely take that guy.
Yeah. My big thing is this corner class is pretty deep. So, like, with the Lions, they could potentially take a Carter and then come back at 18 and take, maybe the 3rd or 4th corner off the board. But, I mean, them or Seattle, I think, makes a lot of sense for Carter to go there. But, I mean, this Okudah trade is interesting, so I do think it kind of, might make them more inclined to take the top corner off the board there. And that's a scary defense. I mean, honestly, the Lions having 2 first-round picks is crazy. That's going to be a good team this year.
Luke, I didn't imagine Carter next to Hutchinson.
Ooh. No, that's going to be a nasty D-line, Chris. Didn't they just sign someone, too, in the offseason? Or no?
Well, they re-signed Isaiah Buggs to a small.
Oh, no. Deal. They signed Chauncey Gardner. That's who they signed. That was their big signing.
Gosh. Bleep you, Dan Campbell.
He didn't do it.
He's biting kneecaps, baby.
Hey.
Well, it's good. It's time for Chris's favorite segment now. The offensive line, which we've beat to death the past 2 weeks.
I wish that I could make her see. He's just the lineman of the week. We all know he can't block. He's just a project on the field.
Is that Leatherwood song?
Oh gosh, no! I would have to think of some more demeaning words for Leatherwood, some more dull words for Alex Leatherwood. I like him because he's a Bama boy, but he's just kind of when I think of Alex Leatherwood, I think of a stump. I think of a hill. I think of a molehill. Do you know the Pokemon who is just like the hill? I think he's just a stump. Or that's kind of what I think of when I think of Alex Leatherwood. And maybe I heard you guys talking about him last week. Maybe you get like I agreed with whoever it was that said, why didn't you give him a shot at guard last year? But I just kind of like a break glass in case I'm able to play except for center poorly, able to give you a heart beating body at all four positions. But
well, we did have some offensive line news for the Bears. Tevin Jenkins retweeted that he will be playing left guard this year, which is interesting. Nate Davis goes to right guard. Center still a big question mark. I'm going to go to Chris. Chris, if the Bears take a lineman in the first round, say Carter's not available and they go O-line, who is the flavor of the week for offensive line that you would like to see in a Bears uniform?
Ooh, that
in the
I
first
would
round.
like to see.
Yes.
The flavor of the week. So are we talking like anybody that they've had in for a visit?
No, just anyone you think that they would take.
Well, I mean,
Could
the
be
flavor
anyone.
of the week is Darnell Wright, but
Is Darnell Wright?
I
It changes
think,
weekly.
It does change weekly. That I would like to see, man, that's a good question. They're staying at 9. I mean, I think,
or you could propose a trade back and take a tackle if that's what you like. Whatever.
I mean, if there is an opportunity to move back slightly, and like I would be happy with PJJ or Broderick Jones in any. I think those are the obvious. If we're staying at 9, I think it's Jones. Sorry, I just can't buy into the Skoronski thing. I'd be also fine with Jones or Wright or either Johnson, Jones, or Wright. Yeah, that's my guy.
Is it not, are you anti-Skoronski because you know he's really a guard, and we've already kind of got that position, right and left guard, kind of those are the two positions that we actually have some starter there.
I thought you listened to the show last week, Joe.
I got through most talking to you.
Weren't you out on assignment studying Skoronski and telling me he has T-Rex arms, bro? That's all right. That's right. Because Paris Johnson Jr. is jealous of Peter Dinklage's hands, so I was not aware that he has tiny baby hands. Not that it matters. Apparently, it doesn't matter at all.
Well, Joe, I mean, who's your flavor of the week, Joe? Are you taking Skoronski there? Are you taking Skoronski as the first lineman off the board?
I'm taking Paris Johnson Jr. first. And then I'm taking
EJ
Skoronski second. And then I'm taking the Georgia boy Broderick Jones third. That would be the guys that I have. And yes, I mean, look, I think Skoronski is a guard. And that does kind of complicate your line. I don't know. I think you just draft best players available. I guess that's probably why I put Paris Johnson ahead of him, because you got to get yourself a tackle. I mean, how much are we believing in Braxton Jones? I like bringing back Braxton Jones, but maybe I'm just sympathetic and I get attached to these players. Really, I get attached to these players and these projects just because they're wearing the Bears uniform and think, oh, this guy can improve and be great. I mean, I think what I'd really love to do is trade back. I don't know. Let me hit my list again and to trade back to. So I'm talking about 10 at 16. That kind of makes sense to me. Chargers at 21. You know, I'd go Paris Johnson Jr., Skoronski, and then Broderick Jones as my 3 linemen in that order.
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan of Broderick Jones. I know he's maybe not quite as polished as Paris Johnson, but I think the upside on that kid is crazy, especially as a potential future left tackle. But Joe, to your point, it really goes back to, I mean, really, I don't think Braxton Jones should sway them one way or another. I think Braxton Jones should be the guy they move depending on who they draft. You know, if they draft Paris Johnson or they draft Broderick Jones because they think they can be an elite left tackle in the league, then okay, Braxton Jones moves to right tackle. But, you know, if they are willing to say, you know, leave Braxton Jones develop for another year, then Darnell Wright is a good fit at right tackle right away. So they have options, but to me, I am sticking with what I've been saying. I like Broderick Jones the most out of this class due to the upside, the measurables, the toughness, the meanness, and space. I love that dude. He would bring some real nastiness to the. I imagine Broderick Jones and Tevin on the same side of the line. out in space.
Cleaning
Good luck.
clocks.
Yeah, good luck.
Linebackers and secondary, good beware.
Darnell Wright, too, is a mean man. I mean, the Bears can have a chance to get really nasty up front. But let's say they don't take a tackle in the first round. What do you guys make of the depth in this class? I don't think the tackle depth is good, but I think you can find some interior linemen later in the draft. I mean, Chris, I'm going to toss it over to you. How are you feeling about the depth here, rounds 2 to 7 at tackle?
2 to 7. Yeah, there's some. There's some interesting folks out there. Depending on, if you do end up getting Jalen Carter at 9, I don't think you can pass. What I was thinking about the other day is like, what happens if one of these tackles slips or falls? At what point would you be willing to look into trading back into the first to get, let's say Darnell Wright falls to like 25-ish or something, somewhere around there. Somehow Broderick Jones does. One of these guys slips down to the mid-20s. Would you jump back in, or like even early 20s and give up that Carolina or our own first rounder next year to get one of these tackles to happen this year? But to your point, Lucas, or to your later round guys, I think Matt Bergeron from Syracuse is a guy that could be taken in the second, third round that would fit. He's got the athletic profile. Might end up moving inside to guard at some point in his career. So, but I feel better about that kind of risk, the same kind of Skoronski thing in the second or third than I do, at 9. Jalen Duncan's another dude from Maryland who has all the size. And I think he's another guy that the Bears have brought in for a visit, and he's got, all the desirable athletic traits and measurables and skills and things. Right. Joseph, what about yourself?
Well, Joe, I have a question for you before you answer this. I mean, if the Bears do wait, right, they pick at 9, their next pick is until the late 50s. I mean, is that a risk you're willing to take on, a Matthew Bergeron or Jalen Duncan even making it that far? I mean, you're basically waiting almost a round and a half before you pick again. I mean, that is kind of a scary proposition to be in that spot. Granted, you get Jalen Carter, who would be probably the number 1 player in the entire draft, but your right tackle issue is not going away. I don't think if you are. It gets a lot more hairy, at least if you wait that long.
100%.
And to your point, Chris, you might need to trade back up.
You both hit because the tackle class is not that good, in my opinion. And if you wait and you miss out on the top end of the second round, which should be us picking again at 32, but hopefully Claypool will make that worth it this year. If you get a good lineman. Oh shit! If you pass on lineman at 9, then you're really banking on hitting some guys late, and you might see you might see what Poles did last year: trade back a bunch of times, and then in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, just take a ton of linemen.
Oh, dude, we got to do it earlier than that this year. They got to go line with their first few picks. I think.
I know. I agree. Well, let me throw.
What do you think about your boy Tyler Steen? What do you think about your boy Tyler Steen? That's a guy I think they could potentially look for to play right tackle in that late 2 or early 3 round. I mean, he's ranked as Brugler's number 7 tackle. I've heard Brennan Thorne describe some of his issues as more permanent issues, but that his floor is he has a decent floor. I mean, what do you think of him watching him there at Bama?
He does have a good floor. He does. He's not going to be the best player on your line, I don't think, ever, but I don't think he's going to be the worst player on your line ever either. Kind of reminds me, just as far as like the production, not really the player. The production. I think Cody Whitehair has been that player for the Bears. Never the worst player on the line, but never the best player on the line. So I think I like Tyler Steen a little bit. Do I love him as far as being on the Bears? No. But he was a really good lineman at Vanderbilt. He transferred to Alabama to try to get some good looks and raise his draft stock. And he was probably our best lineman on the team last year.
He's a really good athlete too.
Yeah, he was probably our best because the line sucked, but he was good. He held down his own, and he's mature. I think he found some professionalism here at Alabama. I like him. I mean, look, if we're ever drafting Alabama kids, I'll put aside anything that I don't like about him and be happy. That'd be a move that I think would be okay, but I don't think over a long period of time, Bears people would like fall in love with him. I think they'd say, yeah, he's good enough. He's all right. Yeah, he's getting it done, but barely. that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, no, I think, Chris, you bring up a good point. Even if they don't trade up to maybe the end of the first round, maybe if they trade up to the beginning of the second round, and maybe they got to give up a couple mid-round picks or whatever. But like we talked about earlier, DeJuan Jones is an interesting guy because he's again probably right tackle only, but amazing college tape, just an absolute beast out there. That would be kind of like a nice Darnell Wright type pick for the Bears at right tackle, but they would probably have to move back up in the second round to get him. I mean, we brought up some mid-round guys there. Another guy I've seen picking up a decent amount of steam has been Carter Warren from Pittsburgh. He's probably a later day 2 pick, maybe day 3. Not too many people know too much about him. He's Dane Brugler's number 9 ranked tackle. Really good athlete. Would be an interesting pickup. But again, we don't really have time for a developmental guy at this point. So it'll be interesting. I mean, we do, but there needs to be some sense of urgency to fix the line a little bit here.
Let me throw a developmental guy from down my way that might be an undrafted free agent. Kadeem Telfort plays down here at UAB. 6'7" fella. Didn't play a ton of football as a high schooler. Went the whole community college route and played here at UAB. First team All Conference USA for a year. Had a little bit of just kind of a little bit of character, just concerned, but this is just a total, let's throw some shit on the wall and see what happens. It would be a guy that I would like to see the Bears give a shot to just as a camp body.
I have my throw the shit on the wall guy.
Good, do it.
It's a Mr. Jake Whitt from Northern Michigan.
Jake Whitt.
Jake don't quit. Jake Whitt. He's, like you said, Joe, he was a tight end and got pushed down to tackle because of injuries, and then just exploded and did very well. But he's only played 13 games at tackle, so it would be a definite developmental project. But he's got the athletic trait. He's very, very similar to Mr. Jones, Braxton Jones, that is later round guy or potentially undrafted free agent.
Yeah, and I think a couple other guys that have been mentioned a lot in the Bears Twitter community have been Wanya Morris and Blake Freeland, both who tested pretty well. I know Morris had a solid Senior Bowl, which the Bears were coaching. He played right tackle at Oklahoma with Anton Harrison on the left side, who will probably be a late first-round pick. But either of those guys would also potentially fit what the Bears are trying to do. Enough about the tackles. Do you guys think the Bears are taking a center this class? I mean, we have Lucas Patrick on the roster and Cody Whitehair, who are supposedly going to duke it out. But do you guys want to see the Bears also draft a center, even later in the draft? Chris, I'm gonna start
Did
with
they
you.
get
What are
rid
you
of the
thinking?
kid from Indiana
No,
who got hurt?
he was hurt. No, they didn't get rid of him. He's still there. Doug Kramer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still there.
Let
He's
him
a
mix
nobody.
his ass up. Let him mix it up.
The only thing I'm letting him mix is the Gatorade. Chris, we drafting a center?
It depends. Depends on what we're looking at, where we're getting them. I mean, if we're looking at that like 104 pick, maybe. If we're looking at like 133 and somebody fantastic, drops, more than happy to take a center.
I'm really
I think
liking the
like-
center class. In
Yeah.
those areas.
I mean, and you need a good center. I don't believe in Cody at all, as I've made it very clear
Not a center.
on this podcast. He cannot snap the fucking ball. So I don't want him to be the main center. But
And Lucas Patrick
sucks ass. So
Well,
I'm very open to drafting.
Mustapher's not still on the roster, is he not?
this is
did
the
his
thing.
contract expire?
Yeah, he's a free agent. And this is the
All
thing
right,
too,
good,
is like
good.
if you draft a center, right, you're gonna have Lucas Patrick and Cody Whitehair as potential swing backups, and then you have two solid tackles and Nate Davis, Tevin Jenkins. You get a rookie center in there, and then having Cody Whitehair and Lucas Patrick as a backup is perfect for your interior line. It's a lot better than Alex Leatherwood and Jatir Carter and Johnny Appleseed from fucking Bumblefuck University, Division III championship winner of 22. Whatever.
Hey man, that's Ryan Pace's boy.
I mean, who's your guy, Lucas? I mean, you like the class. Who's your guy?
I love Joe Tippmann. I think he's going to be a second round pick, though. Probably he's a massive center. He's 6'6". He's only 313 pounds, though, but he moves like a gazelle in space. I actually think he's the best center in the class, better than everyone's favorite John Michael Schmitz. But that's my guy, and I think both them two will probably go earlier in the draft. But some guys to look for later are Ricky Stromberg, who is another local guy, which the Bears seem to love. And they brought in for a visit. And the other guy, I think, would be the kid from Penn State, Juice Scruggs, who would be a potential day 3 pick and would fit what they're trying to do.
Juice.
Bring
in the juice.
It's a good name for a center, right?
Yeah, definitely not a bad name for a center.
I mean, they have 10 picks, right? What's it hurt to take some linemen? Do what we did last year, except apply that to the first 3 or 4 rounds this year, and we'll be cooking, I think.
Ooh, Juice has got that short burst too, with the 1.79 10-yard split that Mr. Poles has a hard on for.
Yeah, Luke Weipler's another one too, who I think also fits what they're trying to do, and I think he snapped for Fields at Ohio State. So
I think they should give free agent Ryan Poles a shot at center.
He might have to go on his own diet plan that he prescribes for these guys.
Is he related to GM Ryan Poles?
Yes, he is.
Oh,
they're one and the same. I would love to see it.
One and the same.
Wouldn't you love for him to just look around the free agent class, look around the class, and be like, you know what, fuck it, there ain't nobody out here that can play.
Calling my own number, coach.
There's nobody that can play right tackle. I'll do it. You just give me an extra $5 million on the side or some shit on my GM pay. I'll do it, and we'll get it done this year.
So Joe jokingly said it earlier with throwing shotgun shells at picks later in the draft. I mean, we did that last year. Jatir Carter's still on the roster. Kramer's still on the roster. Do you see them taking a guard anywhere in this draft, or do you think that that's pretty set, other than Skronsky? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah,
I think they're just gonna keep taking. I mean, they have 10 picks. I think at some point they're just gonna take whoever's the top player on their board. And
when we get to defense, I got a wild positional question for you, but we'll save that for a later episode. A little teaser for you guys. I also like Tippmann, dude. Like that big center, that'd be legit.
Dude, he is ridiculous when he pulls out in space.
Whoa, pause. Pulls out. Jesus.
Dude, just I mean, look at him running down the field. Like the Wisconsin ran like this pin and pull play like multiple times like game, and he was just insane getting out to the second level.
So
Like I
what's
said,
your
he's
so would he
huge.
be an option at like 61?
Yeah, I think he'd be there. It would just
You think he'd
depend
be there at
on
64.
yeah.
Top of the third. Okay.
After that, I think you're probably not getting him.
Nah, you're not getting him unless you move up somehow.
But Ricky Stromberg is very interesting to me, all things considered.
So the interesting thing I was looking at, or somebody, I think it was the Hogan Johns podcast, was basically talking about like the Carter issue or whatever. And if he's there at 9, do you take him or do you take an offensive tackle? In positional value was the argument that I can't remember dude's name that was on the show, was saying there's a higher chance that you find a right tackle on another avenue, whether that's later in the draft or free agent cuts or something like that, as opposed to a dominant 3 tech. However, when I look at like the draft class overall, I think 3 tech looks deeper or like more top heavy than tackle does. If that makes sense? Would you guys agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So taking like a Paris Johnson or whatever tackle is your flavor at 9, and then circling back at 53 and hitting Jervon Dexter if that's your dude, or any of the other second round 3 techs. What's the other kid from Wisconsin? Benton, or Adebore if that dude's there.
Yeah. No, it's definitely interesting. I mean, I think the big key is game wrecking though. I like you're never really going to find a game wrecking 3 technique unless you draft one early in the draft and get lucky. So it is an interesting debate about best player available, plus if it's a huge need. So I don't know. I would have probably more questions about the Bears plan at right tackle in free agency, but I also would be like, we got Jalen Carter, so it's okay.
Do you guys think there's any risk that someone outside of the top 10 trades up for Carter?
Not as much anymore now that he's not visiting him.
I think. Well, I think. But you could have talked to him at the combine. You don't have to have a visit.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting when I was listening to with the first pick, and Rick Spielman was like, "I wouldn't, if I didn't visit with the guy, I would not draft him at all and trade up for him." Like if you didn't talk to him after that happened. But you're right.
No, I agree. Well, they could have talked to him because that was after it happened. But
right.
I agree on the risk trading up for him when, when you're unsure. The only thing I'll say about Carter in the play tape, Joe, that you said was does he fit the hits philosophy? And the rumor is that he does not. So, but Ryan Poles could just be like, look, make him fit it. I don't care. Run him until his man boobs are gone. But yeah, that's just a thought. So center for me is essentially about how the first round shakes out. If it ends up being offensive tackle, I think there's a little bit more diversity for the second round, whether it's corner at 53 or D tackle at 53 or center at 61, 64. Yeah, I think it opens up a lot of conversations. If it's Carter at 9, it really starts to pinch that offensive line.
Yeah, you got it in the second. You basically got to take a tackle there, and then I'm assuming they're also going to want another corner early. So, yeah, I mean you're kind of But then your third round pick is also so close. You basically have 3 picks all within 10 picks of each other, I think. So
Yep.
it is kind of an interesting range to maybe grab tackle, cornerback, center, in any order you choose there. So this draft, I mean, it is crazy having this many picks to kind of work through in your mind just because we're not used to it. But there's other positions besides offensive line, cornerback, and D tackle. So
No.
Chris, I know you like this tight end class. It is loaded.
Oh, yeah.
That's another position I would like to see the Bears address at some point. I mean, we signed Robert Tonyan. We hope to see Cole Kmet extended. But Tonyan is not a long-term. He could be a long-term option. What am I saying? But this is a good class to potentially grab a guy in round 3 or 4 that in other classes would probably be tight end 1. So who do you got for me, Chris? What are you thinking there at tight end?
The second round is going to be super interesting. I mean, Michael Mayer is probably a surefire top 20 pick. Dalton Kincaid could sneak into the first round.
Darnell Washington's probably first round.
Darnell Washington, I
think there could
be close.
Potentially 4 in the first round.
Yeah, Musgrave as well.
Yep.
But I think Schoonmaker and Laporta I think are interesting.
Yeah, Schoonmaker's my guy. I love him.
Joe, you got a hard on for a tight end?
Well, I think if you wait, Cameron Latu is a good little tight end. Wait
Who?
He's not bad.
Would you say somebody next year? Should you go back to your Georgia boy?
No, the Bama. Well, yeah, shoot. If you want to hold on for a tight end and get Brock Bowers next year, you'll be drafting at 1.
No, we need Fashanu or Alt next year, Joe. I want both tackles. Just take them both next year.
Can we get Zach Kuntz, the only 10 Raz for this year, other than Anthony Richardson?
No, that's your guy from Bama, though, Joe. What does he do well?
Cam Latu can do both things. Can block and receive, in my opinion. Now he needs to be more polished in both accounts. He came to Alabama as an outside linebacker and played there for 2 years, and they switched him to tight end the last 2 seasons. He's a good little receiver. I mean, he's got sure hands, but he's not going to be overly athletic. I mean, I think look at his score, 4.78 40. So like that's not incredible, but it's not terribly slow. 32 and a half arms, or is there?
He's talking himself into it.
No,
that's not terribly slow. I mean, it's kind of okay.
Well, shit, you want to talk about Michael Mayer's 4.7 even. I mean, and he's number 1 on the class. You got who you said Shoemaker? No, okay, 4.63. I love that. I don't know any of these tight ends outside of the very tip top.
Well, I'll tell you, I got a name for you,
man. He is
my guy.
He is a man, but I think he's stiff. Go ahead.
My day 3 dart thrower, probably day 3 is going to be Josh Wiley from Cincinnati. He moves really well. He's a 4.69 40. He's kind of like the He's kind of like a slot tight end right now, but he's willing to block. So I think he has potential to be a Y at the next level. He's one of those guys that has a nice athletic build to him that you think, could be projectable at the next level. And, in other classes, he's probably a day 2 pick, but in kind of a super deep class with all the names you guys just rattled off. I mean, Brugler here has him as tight end 11, which is interesting. But
right in front of my guy, Cam Latu.
Yeah. But Chris is guy that
Kuntz is that's the dude. Like Kuntz is the guy that like we can develop behind Tonyan and Kmet and be just a beast.
6'7", 255 pounds. What did he run? He ran a 4.55 40 and a 40-inch vertical leap. That's insane. Zach Kuntz from Old Dominion, Joe.
Did you call him Kuntz?
Shh.
Kuntz.
Dude, his mock draftable is fucking ridiculous, dude.
Can I say
Is it
that
all
on
just
air
at the end?
tomorrow?
He's not any lower than 61st percentile in anything, dude.
Can I
And
call
that's
it
his weight.
Zach Kuntz
What
on
did
the
he-
air tomorrow?
Yeah, go for it. I don't.
I would lose
Dude.
my mind. Oh my gosh.
What did he even Chris? No, I didn't even hear about this guy until the combine. Did he dominate Division 1 AA competition, or is he just another guy?
He's just another guy. He's undermined. he's just got all the measurables in the world. But you get him in like with that 133 pick or your fifth round pick, fucking dart throw, dude. I mean, the upside's too good.
Yeah. I like the first guy you mentioned. Those Schoonmaker's it's one of my favorite kind of tight ends that in other classes would be right at the top of the class, but it's just kind of buried a little bit here. Or Laporta, because Iowa tight ends are a thing. So interesting there. The Bears
Zach
also
Kuntz. That's what we need to draft now.
running backs or receivers you guys
Number
like in
9
the
overall
mid rounds.
pick with a nice pick.
Get out of here, Goodell.
I like all the babies. I like
With
Tank
the
Dell
kind.
because he's
Tank Dell.
a shifty little fucker that can return punts.
Yeah, his route running's ridiculous, dude. He had like 18 touchdowns at 150 pounds.
His get off is so ridiculous. Is like he gets off the line, gets off press super fast, even though he's a tiny person. And then Tajay Spears is my running back.
Yeah, I love Tajay Spears. That would be that's a good one. But I'm gonna change it up on you a little bit. I'm gonna go. My running back is gonna be Chase Brown from Illinois. He kind of does everything that the Bears. He kind of does like everything that the Bears want. He's a pretty good. He's a great zone runner, and he's a pretty good pass catcher out of the backfield. He's just kind of a nice 3-down back. I don't think he's anything spectacular, but he is a kind of a jack of all trades. Nice solid back for the team. I would not mind seeing them go after a guy like that. And then a couple wide receivers I really like are the Jaden Reed from Michigan State, who had a really good Senior Bowl, another local dude. And honestly, one of my favorite receivers that I think nobody has been talking about is Tyler Scott from Cincinnati. He's, in my opinion, I think would be, I don't know what their plan is with Darnell Mooney, but he would be he's kind of like a day 2 Darnell Mooney type receiver. He has everything you would want, that Mooney gives you. Probably a little bit better route running. He's 5'9", 177. He ran a 4.37 at his pro day. Almost 40-inch vertical leap. Set all kinds of records No, I don't know if he did set records there. I'm reading the wrong one. But he's very, very sudden receiver. He's, like I said, kind of in the mold of Darnell Mooney. And a guy I would like to see on the Bears, but they would have to spend a higher pick on him. And a guy I would like later in the draft, if they wait till later, is Landers from Arkansas. Do you know him, Joe? Did you ever see him play? Landers. He's a gigantic slot receiver. He's like 6'4". He's got 4.3. He's blazing fast. 4.37 speed.
No, I cannot say that stands out to me. Where do you have him listed on this thing?
He's probably pretty
40th.
far.
40.
Yeah,
Matt Landers.
This is a guy I'm saying you would take in like round 6 or 7 as just like a complete dart throw because he's 4.37 speed and he's 6'4". He's gigantic.
We love that. I would
Matt
rather
Landers.
I would rather take Keishon Butte or Joseph Ngata as my later. Now Butte is your 18th wide receiver, so he's going to go earlier than that versus Landers at 40. But Ngata, you have him at 49 from Clemson. Kind of gives you that big body guy, not as fast as Landers, He's a 4.54 guy, kind of a guy who never really lived up to his college hype, but just a prototypical mold. He's got a lot of a lot of the measurables. So I think as a later round guy, 6, 7 round guy, he makes sense. And did I miss? Was your little punt returner? Was that the K-State guy, Deuce Vaughn? Did you say that? Is that who you said, Chris?
No, I said Tank Dell from Houston.
Okay.
Deuce Vaughn is an
sorry.
interesting one, Joe. Good
Yeah,
one.
Deuce Vaughn is. I would love to see him added to this roster because I think he's going to be a guy that's overlooked due to his size. His size is terrible for a running back. What do I have? He's 15th on this board.
He's like Darren Sproles.
Yeah, he's 5'5".
Oh my God!
He's 190, but he plays running back for K-State. He had a great year running the ball, but he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's dangerous in space. Good little receiver. Good returner. I think he's got real good. What was his 40? His 40. Oh, 4.56. Slower than I would have guessed. But I like his game. I like his game and what he might bring as a later round running back. I think think Tariq Cohen-esque in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Here's a few nuggets I found on Tyler Scott. Just as reading here, he's Brugler's 7th ranked receiver. In college, his average touchdown reception was 44.6 yards. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Ooh.
And he says he adds intermediate value as a gunner on special teams and has Tyler Lockett-like upside as an NFL receiver. So I do think he's one of the most slept on receivers in this entire class. And, if the Bears are willing to spend a 3rd round pick on him, that would kind of that'd be pretty ridiculous if they wanted to add to that wide receiver room and give Fields all the weapons. So
he was one of the visits. So was Jay.
Yeah, he was one of the visits. Yep.
Lucas, I was just scrolling down to that 40th, that Matt Landers character. There's a gentleman 2 spots up, Bryce Ford Wheaton.
Oh, I heard of him. Yep, from West Virginia, right?
From West Virginia. Kevin White's scary flashbacks, but he's 6'3", 221, and runs a 4.38. So very, very similar stats to Landers, but I'm not taking him because he's from West Virginia and he's a 5th receiver. Well, so is Landers, though. Both of them are like almost 24.
Oh, way too old. Way too old. NFL
For a PFA, absolutely. You cannot have a priority free agent be any older than 21 because you got to develop them. I mean, you can't have them at the Senior Citizen Bowl when they're developing.
Oh, it's a dart throw. It doesn't matter. The age is irrelevant. You're giving them 1 year to figure it out.
Third rounders are dart throws, right, Joe?
Third rounders, I want to be more sure about.
Sure. It's the NFL draft, man. There's no such thing as sure. Look at Jamarcus.
You're right. I mean, you're absolutely right. Of course, it's all a dart throw, but I think you want to feel better about a 3rd rounder than a preferred free agent.
That is true. That is true. It's not called a preferred 3rd rounder. It's called a 3rd rounder.
Oh, what's the chances that and what would be your reaction is if Goodell goes up? I've been fucking around, but if Goodell really goes up to number 9 and says, "Well, the 9th pick, the Chicago Bears select Jackson Smith and Jigba," what's our reaction there as a group?
I won't care.
It is what it is. Like I told you guys, I stopped really caring until like that pick is made, and then you'll get my legit true reaction. Like when they pick, like I knew when they traded up to 11 that it was Fields, but until they said it, like I was steady Eddie, and then went fucking nuts. And I've only had that reaction a couple times. It was Roquan and it was Justin Fields. So, we'll see what happens when they hit 9. When he hits 9 and announces the pick, I'll film it or something and you get my true reaction.
All right, I feel you.
I was gonna say I've kind of prepared myself for almost any situation I can think of, and I don't. There's not one that makes me really, really upset. To be honest with you, like I really like JSN.
John Robinson.
even that, because like I would be pissed we took a running back, but like I'd be like, we drafted a guy who has all like. So I saw someone say on Twitter, if you had to put your money on one guy to become an All-Pro in this class, you would probably put your money on Bijan Robinson to just get the one All-Pro in his career, but you still wouldn't draft him. So I was like, you'd be getting an incredible player. I don't know. That is probably the one guy that I just don't want, but would I be pouting and mad about it? Probably not. I'm prepared for anything. I still think a corner is a potentially high option that many people are kind of
agree.
Thinking about. I could see the Bears loving either Witherspoon or Gonzalez, and I doubt both of them get picked in the top 9. So,
isn't there an analytical study that's recently been done that shows that coverage has been more important than pass rush? No, you have to have both, or you can't have one without the other. But coverage being more important than pass rush is in terms of completion percentage and basically passing yards allowed.
No, I think it correlates to sacks too.
So
just like having that extra coverage has provided teams more pressure just because it gives your lesser talented defensive line more time to get there.
So if we go corner, I will not be upset one bit. I won't be upset if we draft JSN or Bijan, but I'll kind of be like uneasy about it. I'll be uneasy about him.
You know what? Here's my issue with corner is like if it's to draft him to get that room to be a super strength, like why haven't you what's the deal with Jalen? Are you gonna re-sign him? Are you is he in the doghouse still? Like what the fuck's the deal there? It's interesting, right?
Would we all re-sign him? I would.
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
So I mean, then at that point, then we're almost back to it's a position of strength already. You took a high draft pick last year. You know, you don't have the best outside talent there, but corner is a position that could get cut. Edge is a position that could get cut. So it'll be interesting to see what happens after the draft as well. Plus, there's it's a deep ass corner class, like you said, Lucas.
Yeah. I'm basically at the point where the Bears are so bad that any player they add will make them better. So, just
I think staying at one and drafting Bryce Young or CJ Stroud was the biggest fuck you to Bears fans if there was one. But
exactly. So we traded back that eased my nerves. Now there's not much you can do to me that will make me mad because the thing about this class is like I said, a lot of it is just projection. So it's really going to come down to their scouting report on these guys and how they feel about how they can develop there. But we'll get into the defensive side of it next week. That is all I have for today. I think we're ready to sing the song, Joe.
Oh wow! Well, next week we'll figure out what the next flavor of the week is. I'll try to do a better parody for Chris. He looked like he wanted his eyes to pop out at that point, but thanks for holding it down last week, and we'll wrap it on up. Bear down, Chicago Bears, make every play clear the way to victory. Bear down, Chicago Bears, put up a fight with the might so fearlessly. We'll never forget the way you thrilled the nation with your T formation. Bear down, Chicago Bears, and let them know why you're wearing the crown. Your pride and joy of Illinois, Chicago Bears, bear down.